Hey guys, I don't normally do these, but I did get a request from a good friend of mine, Drew. He said he wants to see a dragon scale in a tutorial. Very good friend of mine, also a member of CFA, or Coils for Advocacy. So I'm going to go ahead and post this, and let's just kind of take it from there. I got a bunch of things in front of me to explain exactly what I'm going to do with this build. However, before I get to that, I'm going to tell you what this build is. Okay. Basically, this build is a Clapton that you decore and then you stretch it out. Not like an alien, but kind of like an alien. Okay. Let me read you my notes. A dragon scale. Okay. You're going to Clapton over 22 gauge wire. Cute little 22 gauge wire. By the way, quick tip, if you do these a lot or anything like it where you Clapton and decore, make a chunk of wire, straighten it out, decore that bad boy, and keep it handy. Why throw it out? You're going to use it later. Clapton over 22 gauge and decore. Here's the catch. With this one, just like an alien, you are going to twist opposite. With this, what I'm going to suggest is you Clapton the opposite direction of the way you normally Clapton. And it does come into play here with the dragon scale. Okay. The way that you get these scales to lay down has a lot to do with the way that you lay them down in the final process. So keep that in mind. Not that you can only do it counterclockwise, but that's what I'm doing specifically because it works best for me. I get the best performance and looks out of the coil that way. Now, when you do this, before you stretch it after you decore, slide your wire through there first. Okay? It makes it a lot easier to already deal with it. Okay? It makes it a whole lot easier to work with it. Just stuff it through there first, stretch the end of it, you've already got it measured, you know it's the length you want. So, there you go. You recore with 28 gauge. The reason that I say that is this comes out for resistance like a triple parallel 28 gauge build. Okay, so if a single 28 gauge build came out to 0.6, this comes out to 0.2. Now, we are going to twist in the opposite direction. That's where this build works. So, if you go ahead and you Clapton this counterclockwise, you are going to twist clockwise. That means everything from that point out will be clockwise. Now, there's a little bit more to it, and I'll get to it as we get there. One heads up before you start this. Okay? This one, there's a juice bottle here for a reason, not because I like the company. I'm truly not trying to show them off. Even though I love this guy. This one is actually going to require a little bit of juice. Only using it for lube at this point. Lube. But that's the reason that this juice bottle is out here. Okay? This one, if you got garbage juice around that you hate, this is where you use it. It will make a huge difference later. So, let's go ahead and cut down into the tools that we've got going on and see what's up. Okay, so back on the tools thing, I told you that juice was going to be important just because you need it to lube things up when you get to the very end step. Okay? Obviously, now I don't have the cleanest table in the world, so I apologize. But anyway, obviously your 22 gauge cord Clapton around, you're going to need, and these are the single most important thing that you will need. There are all sorts of special and stuff. You've got to have a good pair of needle nose pliers for this. You can clip your wire with anything, but these are incredibly important to make this style of build work. Right down in the middle here, you got this little smooth section. that's what you're going to be using to get this to lay down. Okay, so that's those needle nose pliers with some kind of a flat thing. Obviously, we need something to wrap them around. We need wire cutters, and we need 28 and 34 gauge wire, because that's what we're using for this one. So that's what's going on with this build, and we'll go ahead and jump back up here in a second. I'll get everything cut up, and we'll show you how to make this happen. Basically, this one I've got set reverse of the way that I normally run, which when I look at my drill, I normally run counterclockwise, so this is set up in clockwise. This is the single most important thing that you guys can do. When you do this build, please remember to Clapton opposite of the way that you intend to lay these down. Okay, because otherwise, I don't know what happens, but it doesn't work out right. My camera girl's back there giggling at the puppies. I'm going to go ahead and Clapton this out, and we'll be right back with you. All we're going to do is decore this. Very easy way to do that. And of course, I'm not going to zoom in because it's kind of a pain in the butt. But right here on the edge of the drill, you have that one little wrap that's a pain in the butt that kind of hangs onto the edge of the drill. So, all we're going to do is grab that one on the side of the chuck and snip that bad boy. And all we're going to do is slide this out off the end. And of course now it's going to be a pain in the butt. But that's it. Decored Clapton, and of course it won't hold still, but decored Clapton, that's all there is to it. Nothing fancy. What I'm going to do is cut about 2 feet of 28 gauge. So, 28 gauge.
Just my hands.
Nothing exciting. Go ahead and cut about 3 feet of that. I don't know, something like that. So, you're going to grab a hold of the Clapton wire and the core. If you can't do this with someone else, that's why we make it that short, so you can stretch it out. What we're going to do is we're going to stretch, I'm not moving you on. We're going to stretch approximately 3 times to the tail end of that and let it go. Now, off screen, we're going to go ahead and cut this into 3 pieces, and we're going to go ahead and set this up in the drill so I can show you the next step, because this is where it starts to get really fun, where you turn this into a dragon scale and not just a decored Clapton that kind of looks like, I don't know, I fell asleep while my hand was on the drill. Alright, so we've got this stretched, and literally I started with a 6-ish piece of wire. We stretched it out, and I end up with approximately 36 inches, okay, which is stretching it 6 times. That's kind of roughly where I like them. The original definition calls for stretching it 3 times. Remember, you're going to turn your drill backwards. Currently, mine is set to clockwise. Okay, so we're going to turn it counterclockwise. Real quick tip, number 1, the more straight and even and flat, even though this is not technically a parallel build, that you can get your core wires, the better. Because if you don't get them flat and parallel, every once in a while you get that weird little hiccup in the middle. And if you've ever twisted more than 2 wires together, you know what I mean. Okay, so let me kind of get this squared up on the end here. And all I'm going to do is clamp down with the pliers. And you notice I got a little bit wonky. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and walk down one more time and make sure we get it lined up. Go ahead and walk this down to the end just to make sure, because like this funky thing on the end, you don't get it down to the right spot, it's not going to twist up the right way. Do yourself a favor, try twisting up 3 strands of wire just once. See that weird wonky thing right there? Yeah, that's not going to go well. Quick tip for you: tilt your pliers away from the one wonky end. You can kind of tighten it up a little bit, and as it starts to grab, you can work with it. This one, I do not twist quickly, because you can actually see the pattern. This is roughly what I want it to look like before I go ahead and flatten down the scales on the Dragon scale. So, because you guys can't see it at home, this is roughly what it looks like. Okay, hopefully you can see that. I'm going to try and get a macro shot real quick, and then I will show you how to lay this down, because this is where it gets messy. Now, this is where this bottle of juice comes into play. But what we're going to do here, and this is extremely key to making this happen, okay? There's a couple of ways to do it, and this is the easiest way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put juice on the wire first, okay? The other way would be to be incredibly gentle and take a day and a half. I don't have time for all that garbage. I'm going to vape today. So, what we're going to do is throw a little bit of juice on it, and by a little bit, I mean it's going to be dripping off onto the table. So, because I like my camera, I'm going to back off after I show you how much juice is going onto this. And to be honest, it's quite a bit of juice going onto this wire, because this kind of acts like motor oil. We're going to use the smooth spot up in here, which isn't so smooth some more. I did a lot of helixes. And that's how we're going to pull it down. Do not use the spot up here that's got teeth on your needle nose pliers. This will destroy this Dragon scale you just worked this hard to create. Use this smooth spot, and we're going to do this in 3 passes. And again, I'm not going to video it because I'm going to have juice flying all over the place. I've always got to clean my glasses when I'm done. So, first pass is incredibly light, kind of like you're dusting off butterfly wings. You're barely touching the wire. Second pass is a little bit rougher. Third pass, you can kind of a little bit more than just touch the thing. You'll be able to see it after you get done with the first pass. If you should choose, you can of course go past 3 passes. Normally by the time I hit 3, it kind of gets it done. I'm going to pause real quick. I'll start throwing some juice on this and show you how much I'm actually putting on it and how I'm doing it. This is what I'm doing, and hopefully you're zoomed in enough. The key with this is you have to use enough to actually lube up. I mean, if you're looking at this, and you may not be able to see it, basically what I'm doing is I'm filling up every small gap here between the wires. Okay? Now, just like motor oil, this is going to be a lubricant. Okay? This is going to let my pliers slide more easily over the wire. Okay? This is one of them that you most definitely need to be rinsing later, because let's be honest, you can't hang on to it to wrap the coil out of it to save your life. Okay? You may need to add more liquid as you go along with this. Okay? Frequently when I get into the second wrap or the second time through this, I need to put some more on it. And it doesn't matter, it can literally be straight 100% VG for Walmart. Nobody cares. We're not vaping it anyway. So, I'm going to grab a hold of this. Again, this is turning the opposite way of what I clapped it. Very, very gently, just barely touching the wire. Please keep this moving. Your Dragon scale will form all the way by itself. Just move continually and slowly down the wire. That's all you got to do. Don't even speed it up because you don't need to. You can run this wide open, but it's not required. You will get to the point that it's popping and clicking. Don't worry about it. Just stay with it. Keep your tension consistent, and that's all you got to do. So remember, we're doing this a couple of more times. So that is one pass through. Okay? Now, this one I think is okay. I don't have to turn up how much juice I've got on it. You kind of see it, it kind of looks like an oil slick on it. Now, we're going to go ahead through it again, and I'm going to turn up the speed because it makes a difference, just like buffing something. Pressure is still the same, maybe just a touch more. You're just laying the scales down into place. So, right down here on the end, from about here all the way out, I put a little bit more juice on it. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit, and right there, I'm going to try and work this out. Just really, really gently from that spot out. And every now and then, I need to come back. And I need to lay a spot down. So that's kind of all there is to that. Alright guys, so when I left you, we had this dragon scale done, and but to be honest with you, looking at it, I'm probably good. Looking at this wire, and of course you can't see it, I'll get you macro shots of it. I'm probably good to run this entire stretch of wire. I might be a little bit hinky from about here all the way out, and that would mean that the next time that I do these, from here on out, I was either short on juice up on the thing, or I probably need to watch my tension when I pinch in on the wires. I'm smoothing it down. Okay, that's where that catch is. You got to be really, really careful. You kind of learn it. You got this little bit of wire here that hopefully will see. Okay, that wire kind of gets pushed off the end, and that's what happens as you smooth down this wire towards the end. That's just kind of what happens. I mean, I really can't explain why, but that's what happens. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this up into a 6-wrap coil. I will be right back with you. I do have pictures. My macros that I took right now did not come out very well. I do have some very good macro shots that I will be showing with you, and I'll see if I can take a couple of this specific coil that I just made right now on screen for you. Okay guys, so I got everything wrapped up. I've got you some macro photos that I took off the good camera, which is what I'm recording on here actually. And basically this is how they come out. Obviously I just realized while I'm editing this, hey, you forgot a scene, so yeah, here's that. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but this is what we come up with. Okay, you'll see it here in the macros just in a minute. It's a whole lot tighter. Basically, I ended up with 2 6-wrap coils on 3mm. When you wrap these, please keep in mind they kind of act like a helix coil. They're not quite as springy, but they're almost as springy. I mean, you kind of tighten them up a little bit. Quick tips on this one. Number one, remember that you want to clap in opposite of the way that you intend to twist. Okay. Secondly, make sure that you juice this thing up like a lot when you go to lay these down. Okay. And third, when you go to actually start laying them down with the smooth part of those pliers, make sure that you start very, very lightly. If it starts kind of clicking and popping at you down towards the end, remember where that section is. That's where you're going to need to put more juice on that wire. Basically it. It performs basically similar to a helix, but it comes out in resistance like a triple core of whatever your core is. And you almost get a staged heating effect, not really. And also remember with this, no matter what the resistance is, assuming of course you have safe batteries to run it, you need to have enough power to push it because there's a lot of mass inside this build. So, Drew, there you go. There's the Dragon Scale. It's really not all that hard. If you can Clapton, you can handle the rest of it. It's just a little bit of practice. So, we'll see you next time, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. See ya.